Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. It is Solo Sunday, and it is time for a first look at the next game we'll be doing here for Solo Sunday. It is Comancheria, the rise and fall of the Comanche Empire, by designer Joel Toppen, and of course published by GMT Games. Excuse me. This is a reprint of a game that was originally published in 2016. And it is a solitaire game, as you would expect on Solo Sunday. So let's flip the box over here and take a look at the back. You can see there are cards. You can see a representation of the board. This one does come with a mounted map board, and I can tell you the box is pretty hefty. So you can tell it's not just a bunch of paper, so to speak, I guess. Some boxes are lighter than others. Comancheria is a solitaire game which transports players back to a time when prairie grass was yet to be trodden by wagon wheels, back to a time when the bison herds numbered in the millions, back to a time when the Comanche were the lords of the southern plains. In Comancheria, you, the player, get to make the key decisions as you guide your people in an epic conquest of the southern plains. As the player, you must carefully balance the establishment of your people's culture against the relentless pressure of an increasingly hostile colonial enemy. So using mechanics similar to Navajo Wars, which was, of course, the previous game to this one, Joel Toppen's Comancheria challenges you, the player, to conquer and control the southern plains. It won't be easy. You're going to have to, I'm paraphrasing now, you'll be meeting up with the Osage, the Pawnee, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, colony of New Mexico, of course. To the south lies Mexico and its new colony of Texas, and to the east lies the greatest threat of all, the United States of America. So heavily outnumbered by colonial powers, you will need to use your superior mobility and tactical prowess to conquer and then maintain your empire against a relentless tide of hostile encroachment. Along the way, you will witness historical events like the opening of the Santa Fe Trail, the Indian Removal Act, the founding of the Texas Republic, and the American Civil War from an entirely fresh perspective through the eyes of the lords of the Southern Plains. All right, our contents: 122 by 34 inch mounted map, 24 cultural development cards, 84 development cards, 25 war cards, 2 counter sheets, a rule and play booklet, 4 history cards, 2 player aids, and 3 6-sided dice. Designed by Joel Toppen, development by Mike Berticelli. The map and cards were Donald Hegarty. I apologize, I might have stuck a D on the end there. And Charlie Kibler did the manual layouts. Joel Toppen himself did the counter art, and the production coordinator was Kai Jensen. Our cover illustration, Navajo Ponies for Comanche Warriors by Frank McCarthy. Take a quick look at that. That's a pretty cool picture, in my opinion. Painting by Frank McCarthy right there. All right. So it's a solo game, 4 to 8 hours of playtime. Complexity is 4. Solitaire suitability is a 9. So look at the counters. And now let's take a look and see what's inside the box. Okay, let's open it up. All right. Now here we see our playbook, which is... you have a tutorial that takes 20 pages, so it does say new players should start here. And I don't want to go through the playbook too much. I usually don't. I try not to go through the playbook too much. You get 20 pages of tutorial, then a page of designer notes, some further reading, and the credits. And then, of course, we have our rules of play, relatively thin. It's 21 pages. Let's take a look. Here, we'll zoom in a little bit. So we have our introduction with the game overview, our component list, important game terms. There's a lot of those. Starts here, 1.2 starts here and goes all the way through to here on page 4. Then we have game components, your map with territories, map spaces, explanation of what the round spaces mean, the Palo Duro Canyon, square enemy spaces. Okay, line connections to link spaces to each other. Solid line connections, no special rules. Dashed line, colonial enemy war columns, not North enemy, cannot move across dashed lines. Enemy connections, yellow, green, and blue colored connections between map spaces constitute enemy connections. Enemy subjugate and settle instructions may only take place across enemy connections. Development card spaces, war event space, history card space, and then our counters. You have your band counters here. There are collections of Comanche warriors. They contain 2 values, strength on the left, movement points on the right. Band counters can be in one of 2 states, unfinished, front side up with 4 to 6 movement points, or finished with a movement point rating of F. If told to reduce a band's strength, replace the higher strength band with an available band of the next lower strength. If no such band is available, as in the case of a 3 strength band, when all 2 strength bands are in play, then replace with a 1 strength band. If no 1 strength band is available, the band is reduced to 0 strength. Any band reduced to 0 strength is removed from play. Player may not voluntarily remove a band from play. You have colonial enemy space markers, general record tracks, headman counters, instruction counters, operation track, rancheria counters, ravaged counters, resource, success check, tribe counters, war column strength, culture cards. Over here we have development cards. So a lot of cards and explanations for them. History cards and war cards. General rules. When a rule has a procedure, each step must be completed in sequential order. Step 1 must be fully completed before step 2, etc. When the phrase terminate this procedure is encountered, any remaining steps in the procedure are not carried out. Random selection, random map spaces. When instructed to use random selection, assign equal odds among the choices and then roll a die. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Alphabetic priority. When instructed to use alphabetic priority, choose the appropriate game piece which has an alphabetical identifier closest to A. So a game piece with B would be chosen before C, right? Makes sense. Stacking limits may be temporarily violated during a band's activation, but will be enforced during the operation cleanup phase. So you can move through, basically, is what that would essentially mean. Rancherias represent concentration of Comanche population. The term rancheria refers to both hexagonal counters and their matching segment on the rancheria display. The term rancheria is the word the Spanish used to describe native villages and encampments. And here's a note for Navajo Wars players. Rancheria display, what it holds, how they can be destroyed. Then you have headmen, Paraibo and Mahimiana. Each headman has a medicine rating, which is tracked on the rancheria display. Okay. Right. How they can die. Resources. The various resource counters. You've got bison, I see, captives, food and guns, horses and trade goods. Lots of historical notes. You see all these darker brown boxes. Those are historical notes. These are design notes and player notes. You have action points, enemy action points, and your own action points. You have success checks. There's a draw cup. Victory checks, military and culture points. Here's our sequence of play. You have your war column phase. Each active war column, the player will determine whether or not that war column moves nearer to a target. And then there's a procedure for that. And operation selection phase, mandatory operation. If there are no band counters in play, or if the operations counter is in must-do passage of time space in of the operations track, player must conduct a passage of time operation. Take actions allows you to activate bands in order to execute player actions. Okay. Operation execution phase, and then the cleanup phase. Then we have player operations, take actions, activating bands. You got culture and planning. passage of time. And that one seems relatively long. It's got 15 steps to it. Then we have player actions. Player actions are performed by active band counters during a take action operation. Each action requires movement points to be spent by the active band. You must have enough movement points to conduct the action. No deficit spending. Okay, hunt action, move action, and then a procedure for that. And trade, what was 3? I missed it. That's on the previous page. Raid, sorry, missed that. Raid and a raid procedure, then a trade action, and then you've got the enemy. You've got your colonial enemies. Over the time period depicted by the game, the Comanche people faced enemies from all directions. To simplify game terms, I have chosen to break down the principal enemies according to the cardinal direction from which they came: north, south, east, and west. Okay, then you have an enemy instruction display, how you resolve. There's an overview and how you resolve the counters. Enemy instructions may be executed. And then you got procedures here, procedure A, B, C, resetting the enemy instruction display, enemy instruction specific rules, culture attack, encroachment, hunting, peace, raid, recover, settle, subjugate, war. And then speaking of war, battles, battle resolution, battle results, reservation. This section rules apply only to the 4th historical period when card number 68, Medicine Lodge Treaty, is revealed. When Medicine Lodge Treaty is in play at the end of each operation cleanup phase, if the player has military points, the number of in-play, the player military points are less than the number of in-play rancherias outside the reservation. One rancheria chosen randomly is removed to the reservation. Then we have scenarios. The goal of each game of Comancheria is to fulfill the victory conditions of the scenario being played. Defeat, the player may suffer a minor defeat during a victory check, failing to achieve the victory check objective of the history card in play. General scenario setup instructions. Enemy instruction display, game decks. And here are some of these. We have Onto the Plains, which is the historical period of 1700 to 49. Rise of Empire, 2 periods, 1700 to 1799. Lords of the Southern Plains, 3 historical phases, 1700 to 1849. And then Downfall, the final 2 historical periods, 1800 to 1875. And you can see the various difficulties. We've got easy, moderate, hard, and very hard. And then you have basically the entire game, which is the hardest, 4 historical periods covering 1700 through 1875. And to achieve a major player victory, your military points must be greater than or equal to twice the number of rancherias in the reservation. So basically, it's just maintaining your independence, I would say. Those are the rules. Now we'll look at some of the player aids here. We have resolving enemy instructions, 2-sided. Game counter summary on the other side. There are resource counters, band, war column, inspection counter, other counters, colonial enemy markers. And you can see here you've got Spain, Mexico, the USA, and Texas. Hexagonal counters, Rancheria, South Settlement, West, East, and Tribe. There's one. And we've got this fold out here. So you've got player actions and your different types: hunt, move, raid, and trade. Success check, sequence of play. Right? On the inside, take actions, planning, passage of time. And on the back, enemy instructions. So as you can see, these are probably going to be a key component in the gameplay. And we have our 2 counter sheets here. So you can see some of these are round. We've got ravaged markers, got movement points and action points, I believe. Military points, culture points, passage of time, operations. There's your A, B, C, D, and E for the rancherias. Various hexagonal counters, markers for the enemies. Then you have some Comanche counters up here in the red, and other counters here. They are double-sided. Here we have more. There's some bison, some horses, captives, trade goods, guns and food, enemy space, etc. Some of the medicine people here, Mahimianas, and I guess this would be the other type. And of course, they are also double-sided, and you can see success is on the other side of these question marks. Some will say success. Some will say enemy APs, as you can see. And then we have, of course, the map. But before we do the map, let's look at the cards. Development Deck 2 from 1750 to 99 is on top of that. This is 4. And then this one is Culture. You can see this one actually has different types of cards in it. So here we have War Column Movement on here. I probably won't go through the cards that much right now. You can see the different colors if you look at them, right? A little further down would be better. It's hard to tell, but you got this kind of yellowish color here, and then there's another color, and then you've got the blue and this separate color, and then of course the culture pack. And now we know there are 4 development periods or 4 periods, so that's probably what these are, right? And then you have your culture, and I'm sure the war cards and all the other cards, history cards, etc., are all in here as well. So I'm not going to go through these right now. We'll see them when we play the game. In the interest of keeping the video relatively short. So let's take a look at the map. Well, actually, here are our dice. You've got a red, a yellow, and a blue. We have our bags that GMT provides for holding counters and so forth. And now we have our map. So let me pause a moment and change the shot so we can see the whole map. Okay, so here you see the map. I'm kind of holding it down because it doesn't lay flat right out of the box. At least this one doesn't. But you get a better view here if I do this. So you can see here all your areas, right? We've got Upper Arkansas, the Llano Estatico. My Spanish is terrible. Red River, more Lower Arkansas here, the Brazos, Colorado, Rio Grande, right? And then you have Palodoro Canyon. Here's Red River, Lower Arkansas. And you can see the dice, right? We have a 1 here for Upper Arkansas, 3 for the Llano Estacado, 2 is Lower Arkansas, 4 is the Red River, 5 is the Brazos, and 6 is the Rio Grande. Then you have your operations track is over here. You can see must do passage of time. This is our general record track here. Here's the reservation. Here's the rancheria displays. And you can see you got your Mahimianas here and your Paraibo here. Resources A, B, C, D, and E, right? So this goes with each rancheria. Headman medicine, right? History cards, out of play, available resources. And up here we have development card decks and the ones that are in play. Down here we have enemy instruction display, and then according to the dice, enemy action points. So that is a look at the map, and that concludes our look at Comancheria. First look, there will of course be gameplay. Since this game I don't think is super long, I may at least try to get through a couple of errors in it to, show a decent amount of the gameplay. So that will be coming up, obviously, in future episodes here on Solo Sunday. But for now, that's going to do it. So thanks, as always, for watching. If you have questions or comments, feel free to post them up. If you would consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing to the channel, that would be outstanding and greatly appreciated. But even if not, I hope you'll come back and check out further Solo Sunday content, as well as just regular Hexed Encountered content here on the channel. But that's it for this one. I'm Joe. This is Solo Sunday on the Hexed Encounter channel. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.